Phil Mickelson's name has become synonymous with some of the most unforgettable moments in golf history. To millions of fans, he is the fearless left-hander who never hesitated to attempt shots that others wouldn't even dream of trying. His victories, his charisma, and his longevity have earned him a place among the greatest golfers of all time. But behind every trophy, every standing ovation, and every dramatic finish was a story that few people truly understood. It wasn't just the story of a golfer chasing greatness. It was the story of a man trying to balance ambition, family, and the immense pressure that comes with living in the public eye. While the world watched Phil battle the best golfers on the planet, another journey was quietly unfolding behind the scenes, one that would shape not only his career but also the person he would become. Long before the championship celebrations and the roaring crowds, Phil Mickelson was simply a young boy growing up in San Diego, California, with an extraordinary love for golf. Born on June 16, 1970, Phil picked up a golf club at an early age after watching his father practice. One of the most fascinating parts of his childhood was how he developed his famous left-handed swing. Although his father was naturally right-handed, young Phil stood facing him and mirrored every movement. Without realizing it, he taught himself to swing from the opposite side, creating the signature left-handed style that would later make him one of the most recognizable players in the history of the sport. It was a small childhood habit that eventually became one of the defining characteristics of a legendary career. As Phil grew older, it became increasingly clear that his talent was unlike anything most coaches had ever seen. While other young golfers focused on playing safe and avoiding mistakes, Phil embraced creativity. He loved attempting difficult shots, taking risks, and finding solutions that others couldn't imagine. That fearless style made him exciting to watch, but also unpredictable. Sometimes those bold decisions led to incredible birdies that left crowds speechless, while other times they resulted in painful mistakes. Yet even when things went wrong, Phil never changed the way he played. He believed that greatness belonged to those who were willing to take chances, and that philosophy would define his career for decades. His amateur career quickly established him as one of the brightest young talents in American golf. While attending Arizona State University, Phil dominated collegiate competitions and earned multiple national honors. His reputation continued to grow until, in 1991, something remarkable happened. Still an amateur, Phil won the Northern Telecom Open on the PGA Tour, defeating experienced professionals who had spent years competing at the highest level. It was a rare achievement and immediately announced that golf had discovered its next superstar. Fans and analysts alike believed they were witnessing the beginning of a truly special career. As his popularity grew, Phil found himself adjusting to a completely different life. Every tournament brought more cameras, more interviews, and more expectations. Sponsors wanted his attention, fans lined up for autographs, and the media followed his every move. While many young athletes struggled with sudden fame, Phil remained focused on improving his game. Yet success on the golf course wasn't the only thing entering his life during this period. Away from the crowds and television cameras, he met a woman who would become the most important person in his journey. That woman was Amy McBride. Their relationship began in the early 1990s, long before Phil had won a major championship or achieved worldwide fame. Amy wasn't interested in becoming a celebrity or living in the spotlight. Friends often described her as warm, kind, intelligent, and remarkably down-to-earth. Their personalities complemented one another perfectly. Phil thrived on competition and embraced pressure, while Amy brought a sense of calm and stability that helped balance the demanding life of a professional athlete. As their relationship grew stronger, it became clear that they shared values that extended far beyond golf. They wanted a family, a meaningful life together, and a relationship built on trust rather than public attention. Unlike many high-profile couples, Phil and Amy intentionally kept much of their personal life private. While magazines and television networks were eager to feature one of golf's rising stars, the couple rarely invited the public into their home life. They understood that fame could be unpredictable and often chose to protect the moments that mattered most. As Phil's career accelerated, Amy became his constant source of encouragement. Whether he finished first or fell short of victory, she remained by his side with the same quiet support that had defined their relationship from the beginning. For Phil, having someone who believed in him regardless of the scoreboard became one of the greatest strengths he carried throughout his career. Despite winning tournament after tournament, one question continued to follow Phil wherever he played. Critics and fans alike wondered whether he would ever win a major championship. Week after week, tournament after tournament, he found himself finishing near the top but falling just short when the biggest titles were on the line. Every close call became another headline. Every missed opportunity sparked another debate about whether Phil had what it took to become one of golf's true legends. The pressure grew heavier with each passing season. Many athletes would have allowed those disappointments to define them, but Phil refused to abandon the aggressive style that had made him successful in the first place. He continued believing that if he stayed true to himself, his moment would eventually come. While the public focused on scorecards and rankings, Phil's life away from the golf course was becoming increasingly meaningful. He and Amy were building a family together while trying to navigate the demanding schedule of professional golf. Weeks spent traveling from tournament to tournament meant long periods away from home, countless hours of practice, media commitments, sponsor obligations, and the constant pressure to perform. Balancing family life with one of the most competitive careers in sports was never easy, yet those who knew them often admired how determined they were to keep family at the center of everything they did. No matter how famous Phil became, home remained the place where trophies mattered far less than the people waiting for him. From the outside, it appeared that Phil Mickelson had everything anyone could ever want. He was earning millions of dollars, competing against the world's best golfers, attracting enormous crowds, and living a life that many people could only dream about. Yet success often hides struggles that outsiders never see. Every missed putt became national news. Every disappointing finish invited criticism from analysts and fans. Every season carried greater expectations than the one before. The higher Phil climbed, the greater the pressure became. Few people realized that the greatest challenges of his life would not come from difficult golf courses or fierce competitors. They would come from circumstances far beyond the fairways, moments that would test not only his career but also the strength of his marriage and the resilience of his family. Those challenges would eventually reveal that some victories in life are far more important than any championship trophy. After years of coming painfully close, the pressure surrounding Phil Mickelson reached a level that very few athletes ever experience. Every season seemed to end with the same conversation. He was one of the most talented golfers in the world. He had won tournament after tournament, and he had thrilled fans with his fearless style of play. Yet one question continued to overshadow everything he accomplished. Could Phil Mickelson ever win a major championship? Critics argued that he lacked the mental toughness to finish the biggest events, while others believed his aggressive approach would always prevent him from capturing golf's most prestigious titles. The label of being the best player never to win a major followed him everywhere, and with every near miss, that label only became heavier. For many athletes, years of disappointment would have destroyed their confidence, but Phil refused to change who he was. He continued attacking difficult pins, trusting his instincts, and believing that one day the breakthrough would finally arrive. That breakthrough came in dramatic fashion at the 2004 Masters tournament. Walking onto Augusta National on the final day, Phil carried not only the hopes of his fans, but also years of frustration and enormous expectations. Every shot mattered, every hole brought new tension, and the pressure became almost unbearable as he battled for the green jacket. Then came one of the most unforgettable moments in golf history. On the 18th green, Phil rolled in the winning birdie putt, threw both arms into the air, and celebrated with pure emotion. It wasn't just another tournament victory, it was the release of years of doubt, criticism, and unanswered questions. In that single moment, he silenced those who believed he could never win golf's biggest prize. As he embraced Amy after the victory, the celebration became one of the most iconic images in Masters history. It wasn't simply a golfer celebrating a championship. It was a husband sharing the greatest moment of his career with the woman who had stood beside him through every disappointment that came before it. Winning the Masters changed everything. The victory transformed Phil from a brilliant entertainer into a major champion, and over the following years, he continued building one of the greatest careers the sport had ever seen. More major championships followed, including another Masters title and victories at the PGA Championship and the Open Championship. Fans admired his creativity, his courage, and his ability to produce incredible shots when the pressure was at its highest. His popularity continued to grow around the world, and his family shared in those joyful moments. From the outside, life appeared almost perfect. Phil was winning, his career was flourishing, and his family seemed stronger than ever. But life has a way of reminding even the most successful people that some challenges cannot be overcome with talent alone. In 2009, everything changed. Amy Mickelson was diagnosed with breast cancer, a moment that completely altered the priorities of the entire family. Suddenly, golf no longer mattered in the way it once had. The trophies, rankings, and prize money all faded into the background as Phil focused on something far more important: his wife's health. The news shocked the golf world because fans had always seen Amy smiling beside Phil after victories, supporting him through every stage of his career. Few could imagine the difficult journey that now lay ahead for their family. Phil made a decision that spoke louder than any championship victory ever could. He announced that he would suspend his PGA Tour schedule indefinitely so he could remain with Amy during her treatment. It was a choice that earned widespread respect throughout the sporting world. Many athletes talk about family coming first, but Phil demonstrated it through his actions. At a time when he was still one of the biggest stars in golf, he willingly stepped away from competition because he understood that no tournament could ever be more important than standing beside the person he loved. His decision reminded millions of people that behind the fame and success was a husband determined to support his wife through the most difficult battle of her life. Amy's treatment was physically and emotionally demanding. Chemotherapy brought enormous challenges, affecting not only her health but also the entire family. There were difficult days, uncertain moments, and countless emotional struggles that remained largely private. Throughout that period, Phil rarely spoke in detail about what the family was experiencing, choosing instead to protect Amy's privacy while quietly supporting her every step of the way. Their story became an inspiration to many families facing similar battles because it showed the importance of unwavering support during life's darkest moments. Success in sports could never guarantee happiness or protect anyone from illness, and the Mickelsons experienced that reality firsthand. Eventually, after months of treatment, encouraging news began to emerge. Amy's condition improved, and she gradually returned to public events alongside Phil. One of the most emotional moments came during the 2010 Masters tournament. Returning to Augusta after everything they had endured together, Phil played some of the finest golf of his career. As he secured another green jacket, cameras captured him walking off the final green and embracing Amy in an emotional hug that resonated far beyond the sport of golf. For many viewers, it was more than a celebration of another major championship. It symbolized hope, resilience, gratitude, and the strength of a family that had refused to give up during one of the most difficult periods of their lives. That MB.
Embrace remains one of the defining images of Phil Mickelson's career because it represented a victory that extended well beyond the golf course. The experience also changed Phil's perspective. Friends and fellow players noticed that family became an even greater priority in his life after Amy's illness. While he continued chasing championships and competing against the world's best golfers, there was a deeper appreciation for every opportunity he had both on and off the course. The battle against breast cancer reminded the Mickelson family that life's greatest victories are often measured not by trophies, but by the people who stand beside us through our hardest moments. Their journey inspired countless fans, many of whom saw their own struggles reflected in the courage and determination the family displayed throughout those difficult months. Although Amy's health continued to improve, Phil's journey was far from over. New challenges were waiting just around the corner. His career would soon enter another chapter filled with unexpected controversy, intense public criticism, difficult decisions, and choices that divided the golf world. The fearless golfer, who had overcome years of disappointment and supported his family through unimaginable hardship, would once again find himself at the center of headlines, not because of a dramatic victory, but because of decisions that would forever shape his legacy. Phil Mickelson's story proves that even after reaching the top, life never stops testing you. In the later years of his career, new challenges replaced the old ones. Questions about his gambling habits, criticism from the media, and his controversial decision to join LIV Golf placed him at the center of one of the biggest debates in golf history. Some fans supported his choice, believing he had earned the right to make his own decisions after decades on the PGA Tour. Others felt disappointed, arguing that the move changed the way his legacy would be remembered. Regardless of where people stood, one thing remained undeniable. Phil Mickelson continued to be one of the most talked about figures in the sport. Through every headline and every controversy, one constant never changed: his family. Amy remained by his side, just as she had during the victories, the heartbreaking defeats, and the difficult battle with breast cancer. Their journey showed that real relationships are not built during the easier moments. They are built by standing together when the world is watching, when criticism is loudest, and when life becomes uncertain. That quiet strength became one of the defining parts of Phil's story. Today, when people look back on Phil Mickelson's career, they see far more than 6 major championships, dozens of PGA Tour victories, or unforgettable shots. They see a golfer who inspired millions with his fearless style, a husband who put his family before golf when it mattered most, and a man whose life included triumph, disappointment, controversy, and resilience. His legacy is not perfect, but perhaps that is what makes it so human. Behind every trophy was sacrifice. Behind every celebration was hard work. And behind every challenge was a family determined to move forward together. Phil Mickelson's journey reminds us that success is never defined by trophies alone. Championships can make headlines, records can be broken, and public opinion can change overnight. But loyalty, love, and the people who stand beside you during life's hardest moments leave a legacy that lasts far longer than any victory on the golf course. If you enjoyed this story, let us know your thoughts in the comments. What is the greatest moment of Phil Mickelson's career in your opinion? Was it his unforgettable Masters victories, his incredible comeback after years of criticism, or the way he stood beside Amy during her battle with breast cancer? We'd love to hear your perspective. If you enjoy powerful golf stories like this, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the biggest stories in golf. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.